Is Canada splitting as East and West Canada? Why this question, you ask? Well, while it has not come officially, a lot of dissent murmurs are happening on the western states of Canada, especially Alberta, because Alberta is the one state that has so much surplus that it feels that all the other states are sponging off of it. I'm going to give you a detailed description of which state is contributing how much to the nation of Canada and what Alberta is trying to do to assert itself. Remember, viewers, in Canada, you don't have states, you have provinces. Provincial autonomy is already built in. To some extent, each province can control a few things on its own. However, here you are getting into a slightly bigger situation where Alberta is saying no more. We are not going to keep on giving money to the rest, where you guys are becoming more and more increasingly rabid, radical, allowing illegals to come in, allowing Muslims to come and do whatever they want, allowing Sikhs to have battles on the street, drug infestation, everything is coming into play. In fact, I'm going to even give you a scenario of what could essentially become the Western Canada and what could be the Eastern Canada. All this and more in this infographic, and please do like this video and share it amongst our brothers and sisters of Canada. Here we go.
Vidagrama is a magic and unique place with an overwhelming history.
Vidagrama is the most inspiring place I have ever visited. I am grateful to all.
So, the Great Divide. While Canada isn't formally splitting, a deep economic and political rift separates the western states from the eastern states. Which are these states? I'm going to come to that in a moment. This is a visual guide to western alienation and its modern flashpoint, the province of Alberta. Canada's power imbalance by population. If you look at where the bulk of Canadians live, it is in the central Canada that comprises of two states, Ontario and Quebec. Quebec is predominantly French-speaking, although English is also spoken, but Quebecans typically think of themselves as a separate. So you have, within this East-West Canada, you have entities within the East who all feel they are individual, they need to be separate entities and so on. So that's a discussion for a different day. Let's take a look at what is the Western Canada. The Central Canada has close to 24 million people. The Western Canada has close to 14 million people. And in that, there are four states: British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. In fact, people are saying that even in British Columbia, they want to just cut out Vancouver and the rest can basically be part of this Western Canada. They want no more to do with Vancouver, which is a city where there's a lot of drug peddling, you have a lot of Sikh influence there. This is something that needs to be completely removed like a cancer. So we'll have to wait and see when the government of Canada, if any, will crack down or not. Then in Atlantic Canada, which is basically one or two states, you have about 2.4 million, and in the north, which is in the upper territories, there's hardly any, just 0.12 million. Viewers, this is the thing about Canada. Canada population starts falling away about 100 miles north of the border with United States. That's it. Think of a band between the United States border and Canada. If think of it like a 2,000 or 3,000 mile rectangle by 100 mile rectangle. That's where the bulk of Canada lives. Now, what is the grouse Alberta has? Alberta is the primary economic engine of the Confederation. It contributes billions more to the federal government than it gets back in spending. Almost $20 billion per year. And this is the approximate net annual contribution to fiscal federalism. So what happens? There is the fiscal flow. The federal equalization program that Canada came up with redistributes wealth from the haves to have-not provinces. This chart shows the net contribution or receipt per person in dollars, highlighting the significant fiscal transfer from Alberta and other states which are positive to other parts of the country. Let's take a quick look. You may not be able to read the text, but I'm going to read it out for you. Quebec is close to $2,173, and this is negative. Then Manitoba minus 3,457, Nova Scotia 3,051, Ontario has a surplus of 498, British Columbia a surplus of 1148, and here is a big one, Alberta 5,533 dollars per person. And what are the three pillars? Well, the first pillar is energy, and the economy is under a lot of pressure. So if you look at the flowchart that I have here, the core of the Western frustration lies in federal energy and climate policies that Alberta perceives as a direct attack on its oil and gas industry. A key issue is the inability to get resources to global markets, forcing a reliance on a single discounted customer, which happens to be the federal government of Canada. The Alberta resources go down to the federal policies. There's a bill called the C-69. Those of you who are from Canada will understand it. Then there are tanker bans and there are emission caps, and the state of Alberta is blocked for access to global tidewater markets. The primary route, for example, is to the USA, and that is being sold at a discount, and this is what Alberta wonders, why is it that we have to give the discount? Then there is the second pillar, which is the provincial jurisdiction. Alberta argues that the federal government repeatedly overreaches into areas the Constitution reserves for provinces. This is seen as an erosion of provincial rights and autonomy, particularly concerning natural resource management. There's an interesting thing about the pipelines of Canada. For some pipelines of Canada to reach its own state, it has to come through United States and wind its way back up. So this is a very interesting situation. If tariffs are enforced, then where are they going to be enforced? On the oil coming into US? And what about the oil exiting US and going back into Canada, which originally happens to be Canadian in origin? So a lot of confusing scenarios. So whenever Canada rattles its saber and says that, oh, we are going to have reciprocal tariffs, take a deep breath, it's not going to happen. Now, the third pillar, the sovereignty push. In response to what the center has been doing to Alberta, Alberta has passed a Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act. This controversial law creates a framework for Alberta to challenge and potentially refuse to enforce federal laws it deems harmful or unconstitutional, representing a significant escalation in the federal-provincial conflict. So there you have it. Alberta has raised the first banner of revolt, and like I said, 4 states, British Columbia minus Vancouver perhaps, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. These are the 4 that might want to become a Western Canada Union. Maybe they'll have a treaty with the United States for defense as well as for finances, because if something like that happens, the rest of Canada, Ontario, Quebec, and the eastern states, they are in for a whole world of hurt. It might not even be surprising to see them become like third world countries. So who's Mark Carney? What the hell does he know about managing Canada? And how come he has become the Prime Minister of Canada? What is his USP? One asks. All this is just that Canada is under the grip of the deep state, and the deep state appointed nominee is Mark Carney, in my opinion, and he is driving Canada into the ground. Dear Canadian brothers and sisters, do watch this video, reflect on what I am trying to say, go and read the reference links that we are providing. There is a lot of truth in what I'm saying. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.